And our co-host Nikichi is Mr. Carlisle Holden, President and CEO of Correctional Management Communications Group. Courtney Stewart, Chairman and CEO of the National Reentry Network. And we have another guest who was tied up in traffic. We had Vince Chilibo live on the historic News Street corner. So Nikichi is my co-host, and we just got finished talking to Congressman Norton, Mr. Holden, and we very briefly touched about halfway houses. Our topic for this second hour is the status of halfway houses in Washington, D.C., and the situation in terms of the contract that your company has been awarded, and I understand that it's been, Hope Village has been in business over 20 to 25 years, and they are contesting the award of the bid, and I understand that it's being half pulled back or rescinded, and this for some administrative or technical changes. Maybe you can give us an update and maybe bring in Courtney Stewart and what he's doing with the halfway house situation in Washington, D.C. Mr. Carlisle Holden, President and CEO of Correctional Core DC.
Right.
Okay. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. What a pleasure to be here, and really appreciate the opportunity to make sure that the right information is communicated in regards to this whole halfway house situation. Let me first say on behalf of our chairman and CEO Jack Brown, who is over our core services group. I'm so happy to join this group as the president of the Core DC group to bring these services to the returning citizens. And I always want to make it clear, it's really not about, Hope Village or Core DC, it's about the returning citizens, to make sure that we provide them with the most appropriate opportunity that will provide them with the opportunities to become productive citizens. We was awarded the contract on November 1st, and soon thereafter, it was protested, and it's been still waiting on a final decision from the Bureau of Prisons. Obviously, we have a halfway house in Brooklyn that we have run since 2011 and has done an outstanding job, returning those residents in New York, and we feel like there was an opportunity. As a matter of fact, Walter Ridley connected me to Core DC, so I can bring the heart that I have for returning citizens to the District of Columbia. So right now we sort of in a holding pattern because there was some misinformation about whether Core DC engaged the community and so forth, and that really wasn't the case. Once we was awarded, the protest came and there was a stopgap, so they stopgap work order, so you couldn't do it. Community and the way the federal procurement process, I don't want to spend a lot of time about it, how that, we did the appropriate notifications in order to win the contract. The second part is once we win it, is then to engage the community. So there is this thing that we was going to just sneak in the community and do that. That was never our intent, and our record will speak for itself. And we have allowed folks, we have opened our doors at our facility in Brooklyn so folks can come and see, and I think Mr. Stewart had the opportunity to visit. So I think, Core Services Group and Core DC is committed to this population and other marginalized populations. We serve about 1,900 individuals in New York in homeless shelters for juvenile families and adults.
Okay, Courtney,
Yes, sir.
you've been active in this halfway house situation. You want to give us your update on this halfway house situation in Washington, D.C. in regards to Hope Village, Core City? What do you see the benefits or advantages or no benefits, and what do you think?
Well, first of all, let me say good morning, and Roach, thank you for inviting me.
And I'm glad you missed the count this morning, man.
I won't miss it this afternoon. Yeah, I won't miss it at 4 o'clock. So, this halfway house situation, okay, the bottom line, the key to this is two things. One is change, the other is DC residents, period. Okay, and so we've had a halfway house in the district for 44 years. Their history has been documented over those years. It's time for change, period. So we moving, that's what we do. We move on to something better, something new, something reimagined, and so this is where we're at. So yeah, I did have the pleasure and the opportunity to go to New York.
And two and a half hours.
Yes.
What did you see?
Well, I saw something that I never saw before. Okay, I saw professionalism. I saw lighting. I saw very dedicated community providers and partners, and we're able to show their success with the particular population. But really, you know, and I've seen a lot of other things. I've seen the technology. I've seen the staff. I met the staff there, and I was very impressed. Very impressed. It wasn't a dog and pony show. It wasn't like they cleaned the place up the day before, you know. But the biggest thing was the residents. Okay?
What do you mean by the rest?
What I mean by that is that we sat down with 4 or 5 of the residents, and we had a candid conversation about the services that are provided to them through Port DC and how they were benefiting from those services. Now, those stories rang true with me because they weren't made up. They were very authentic and very real. And at the bottom line, they equal really good services. You know, taking care of families, being thoughtful, understanding that an individual may not make it back to the halfway house at a time that they're supposed to make it back. But if they called, then they would be treated like human beings. You know, they would be given an opportunity to take care of whatever critical business that they needed to take care of. So, I you know, and me being a person that knows a lot about the history of Hope Village, a lot of that has never happened. Matter of fact, those have been some of the complaints over the years.
So actually, that's what I was going to ask you. What are some of the specific distinctions between what you know about Hope Village and what you saw in Brooklyn? I know what you mean about the dog and pony show because I toured Hope Village along with Justice Roundtable about a year or so ago, and I mean it was a nice pound cake and all that Ms. Brown gave, but it was definitely a dog and pony show.
Well, I mean, you know, the distinction, I give you a couple of distinctions. Actually, you know, when an individual leaves a halfway house to take care of their business, whether it's family business, whether it's work-related business, they need the allotted time to take care of that business. Now, if something comes up where they need extra time or they need to call back and right and get some extension, I seen a distinction there where there were a lot of considerations, you know, given the circumstances, whether they had a loved one in the hospital and they didn't know that they was going to have to be there a little longer, or whether they were on an interview at a job and you know, that process took a little longer than it was supposed to. The other distinction I would say was an individual who had been in the halfway house for the second time. Okay, he was a retread. He had been there before, and he, you know, they accepted him back. They didn't need to accept him back, but they did because they felt like that they could work with this individual. And in so doing, this person got a job through the halfway house. They actually helped him to find employment, and through finding employment, this gentleman is doing well, and he's almost ready to be reunited with his family. So I seen a big distinction there.
You know, that was one of the main issues that we got a lot of complaints about Hope Village in regards to, I know guys who came out after 15, 20, 30 years incarcerated, and it was Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they would not allow them out and go home on Thanksgiving or Christmas, and they'd sit up in the halfway house because they hadn't been there 30 days or 60 days, etc. So I remember the halfway house started in 1964. It was back during the days when Delbert Jackson was running the Department of Corrections. So from 64 on, I watched the evolution of how halfway house and that insensitivity in terms of somebody do 30 years and you get that released Monday, and Friday is Thanksgiving, and you're not allowed to go home for 2 hours to spend with your family because you have to do whatever the policy dictates that you have to stay at a certain period of time. This further exasperates and causes other problems with the man and his family. So to see or to hear this kind of concern and sensitivity, but I also understand why they had the rules. somebody always violated and broke it up. Rules come about because somebody done something they weren't supposed to do. You know what I mean? And that's an issue that's always a balancing act. And what I want to do is turn to Mr. Holden. I just met him yesterday at a funeral for our good friend Walter Ridley. He used to be the director of the D.C. Department of Corrections. He was warden at Lawton. He was on the D.C. Board of Parole, he and his wife. I met him in 1975, 40-some years ago. And I was doing life, and he was a warden, and we got to be friends. And how do an inmate become friends with a warden? And I love the man. As I said yesterday at the funeral, I never told my mother and father that I loved him. I just couldn't say it. I couldn't bring myself to say the word love. But when I met Walter, we got to be tight. Our inner voices connected. And I looked, it's the first person I ever said, I love you. An inmate tell a warden that he loved him. And it was just man-to-man kind of relationship. And that did so much to turn my whole life around. And when I ran into you, you was getting ready to sign the guest book. And I looked at you from the back, and I saw your ears sticking out. I said, that looked like the guy I saw with them big ears. I said, are you Mr. Holder? So we started talking, and he gave us a book, Can Anything Good Come Out of Prison? And I'm telling you, we came out of prison. We got Charles Thornton sitting there. He came out of prison. Tyrone Parker, Dexter Forbes, Yango, all these guys, a lot of good, Al Malik Ferguson, a lot of good things come out of prison. Mr. Holder, when you said that Walter Ridley was your mentor, that's all you had to say to me. Because I know Walter, I risked my life for him. We've been buddies for 40-some years. I got arrested when in Marion Barrett's last administration, I got sent to the Federal Department of Big OP. And would you believe Walter called the prison? And I was called down to the warden's office in the federal prison, and I got a call from the director of the D.C. Department of Correction as an inmate. And the warden said, what's going on? And we don't do that up here. What you doing calling up here, speaking to inmates? You need to talk to staff. I said, man, that's my friend. Don't do me like that. I don't get many phone calls. And for the warden to call me to the prison, that said a lot about our friendship. So if he was your mentor, you okay with me until I find out otherwise. You know what I mean? And I know right now that we need a halfway house in Washington. We need something more than what we previously had. And as you said, Courtney, change has to come. And we've gotten so many complaints and stuff about that hopeless village, that we need to do innovative kinds of things. And as we said before you came on, Mr. Holden, this is halfway house for men, but we need a transitional halfway house for those men and women who are terminally ill, who are geriatric, who don't have them kind of services. And we know that the prison population has been increasing rapidly with age-old inmates, and nobody's addressing that particular issue. So I wanted to go to New York to see your facility up in New York, see it operate, so we can, because right now, sir, our show is rated #3 in the world in terms of criminal justice radio, and we go around the world. So we need to make sure that the people listening in institutions, not only in America, but around the country, get access to a new concept and how you are running your half hour and see what we can do. I know you've been having problems with the community resisting in Ward 5 or New York Avenue and Bladensburg Road, the location or the place that you picked up. So how is that coming along in terms of, I know that the contract is on hold, but what are you doing to get the community involved, to get you the support that you need to do what you're trying to do?
Well, we've really been making an effort. We've been working with friends like Sister Nkichi. I work with Queen Karen, Garrison, Courtney, Tyro, and all those guys. We've been trying to reach the right people to let them know. Because once they see us, they'll have a whole different perspective of what we do, the compassion that we bring to the work. You know, I tell folks I can sit down at home. I've had a good life. I retired from the federal system in 2008, and this is a work that I chose to do because I see the need, and I teamed up with CORE. Walter introduced me to the CEO of CORE. Yeah. I didn't know the guy. Walter said, hey, you all need to connect because it seems like you all have, he's done community corrections for 28 years. I've done prison for 28 years.
You were a warden?
I was a warden for 12.
Yeah.
I run the
You said you was a warden. Let me back over. I don't want you to sit this close to water.
But everything that you said about Walter Ridley, I've heard from formerly incarcerated people the same thing about Miss Carlisle, older down in Florida. So.
We're gonna take a break. As listeners know, we're in our annual winter drive to raise funds to keep the station on the air. And we need your support and donations, and we're throwing over to Jerry Parrish, our technical director. You got it, Jerry.
A lot of titles, Roach. I'm the general manager of the station.
Well, I call you technical
Well,
director.
in this capacity, I'm technical
I
director.
just promoted that.
The general manager of WPFW.
Well, first, I have to start with an apology. I have to apologize to some of the listeners out there because I've been getting text messages from the studio. A lot of calls are coming into the station. As you know, WPFW is bi-directional. We listen to you, you listen to us. It's a feedback loop, and we keep on getting better with that loop. So bear with us. There are new systems coming online. The next time we come from Ben's Chili Bowl, we will be able to take your calls. Again, even when we're doing remotes out in the community, like this one we're doing today, we will be able to take your calls. Many of you already know that we now have RDS, radio data systems, and that's for you who are listening in your cars. You can see the WPFW displayed on your dash. Another slight apology, we have a new transmitter that is online now. WPFW is sounding better, but at this time, we're in phase 1 of the operation, which has us on an auxiliary antenna as our primary antenna and facility is being completely renovated. That's phase 2, that's coming this spring. So we need your continued support. We thank you for supporting WPFW because we've gotten this far by your good graces, but we can't stop now. We've come too far to fail. So we ask you, if you support WPFW and you support and approve and appreciate what we're doing and what Roach is doing with this particular broadcast, please call the station, become a member, pledge your support. The number to call, 202-588-9739. If you're listening out of area, 800-222-9739. We understand what is going on in our community because of the government shutdown. A lot of people that are hurting out here, people that we know, they are bearing the brunt of this government shutdown. Several $billions has been lost in income, and we understand it. That's why we had to extend the drive. WPFW is a reflection of our community. To a certain extent, we're a barometer of how our community is doing, and we get it. So we're just running the drive for a few more days, so you have another opportunity to pledge your support. The numbers again, 202-588-9739. Out of area toll free, 800-222-9739, and on the web at WPFWFM.org. Spring is coming, and we'd like to see WPFW sprout.
Thank you, Jerry. Mr. Holder, who is Core Civic? We just heard the Core Civic's coming into D.C. There have been articles in the Washington Post about a 300-bed halfway house in Washington over in Bladensburg, in New York. Who is Core Civic, and what is it that you do?
Yeah, well, Core Civic is a minority-owned business that's been in operation for over 20 years.
And so it has nothing to do with CCA and their new title, Core. Straighten that out, make sure the listeners understand that.
In fact, Sister Kichi reminded me during a conversation that we had. We've been Core Services for many, that's been our original name. As you know, Correctional Corporation of America changed their name to Core Civic. So there may have been some confusion that maybe we was coming under the umbrella of Core Civic, and that's absolutely incorrect. You know, we have been serving marginalized communities for over 20 years. We've been in the halfway house business since 2011, and we have demonstrated our ability to really do the right thing. You know, you have a bunch of compassionate people that work for us. I wouldn't be associated myself with something that I don't believe is the right thing to do, because I don't have to do it. And I can promise, if we are given the opportunity to serve the residents of the district, we'll show what we're about. I think it'd be a disservice after these men have to have been sent all over the country to then come back and don't get the appropriate transitional services that they need so they can be successful. We can't just sit back, I think we should be mad, we should be upset about it, right? Because these guys, we send them California, when I first started, we had in 1980, one of the biggest groups we had in Long Park was the DC group.
And that's California.
Yeah, so, so I see, from my, I worked 27 years, moved 10 times, was the warden of the largest federal prison before I retired. I had 8,000 men and women under my care. And so I understand, I come with a compassionate hat, knowing both sides of the aisle. I'm not an expert on community corrections, but our CEO is. He's been doing it for 28 years, and I have a stellar reputation. And I want to invite you. I know Sister Nkichi's going to go visit on Friday, so we're going to open. We don't plan it. We didn't. The inmates, when we didn't know who they was going to talk to. We just grabbed the inmates, and they just had a conversation. So we for real, and we recognize, we have to be honest with ourselves in this discussion. When somebody's been around for 44 years, there's a lot, it's like a tree, right? It's been planted, it has a lot of roots. So we recognize we have to earn the trust. We have to present ourselves. We have to show, we open our doors to show. So we're not afraid, to say who called DC and what we're prepared to do.
So let me just ask you something real quick, and I see Ron Hampton over there in the studio audience. He and I were on the board of the provider of halfway houses in DC back in the day that was called the Bureau of Rehabilitation. And the model was small house type facilities, primarily in Columbia Heights and other areas. This was just at the time when NIMBYism was coming into play, and when the city was really beginning to go under gentrification as a result. As a result, all of those facilities were shut down, okay? And they provided a great service because it was in the community. It provided the services. It was one-on-one, etc. But because of NIMBYism, so in terms of the opposition that you've been getting in terms of the age-old, not in my backyard, how do you see yourself coming out of that? And also, we just had in the first hour Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, and she was saying it was her understanding that the main issue was just a matter of paperwork. So if you can kind of flesh some of that out.
Well, the GO8 protest, there was a protest filed by Hope Village, and they sustained one part of it and ruled against. They ruled against core services, saying that the paperwork the BOP accepted for the lease of the building wasn't the appropriate paperwork. So they give them an option. They ruled, so the Hope Village, they lost their protest because they refused to say whatever the issues are. So what the Bureau now has two options. They can either open up discussions to make sure that both companies come and present their case, or they can rebid the entire contract. What we hoping with this community engagement is that we can convince the community and that we are the right fit to serve this population, and recognizing that there was a lot of fear monger. We was in a community meeting, and I saw the flyer that came out. How the categorization of returning citizens as murderers and rapists. I was a disservice to the returning service. And, I was mad. Because I feel that we shouldn't be using fear, in order to make up to gain a position or plus. So we're hoping, through this work that we're doing today. I'll be at the round table. We have we go into a community meeting this evening, and we're gonna keep doing what we do, and we're gonna, I'm a guy of faith. So I believe if God wants it to happen, He's gonna make it happen. We're gonna do our part. We're not gonna sit back. And at the end of the day, if it's to be, it's gonna be, and we're gonna do everything within our power to make, we're gonna do our part to make it happen.
Okay, Courtney Stewart,
Yes, sir.
President and CEO of Correctional Management Communication. We just was joined by other guest, Kevin Petty. The National Reentry Network. I got you, Courtney. You want to give us an update, man, on how the things stand with DC? Because what we're talking about is the status of halfway houses in DC.
Right.
And we want to give your point of view, then we go to Kevin Petty.
Sure. So, yeah, thank you, brother. So, too often, right, we are allowing these, I call them, these people with these negative narratives to have a platform based on so-called good intentions, you know. And you know, 95% of our residents, black residents, are in the jail, make up the jail. 95% of our black residents make up the halfway houses, okay? So this is a societal problem. This is all of our problem. And it's up to all of us to be involved in the solution. All the peanut gallery stuff that we're doing, you know, we have to stop doing that in DC. You know, playing games with people's lives. These are individuals who were born and raised here. They grew up here. They helped build this city, okay? Now, some of them, if you know anything about the criminal justice system, then you know that many of these individuals took a plea deal. For a lot of them are not even guilty of charges. So it's a variety of individuals. So you can't be pointing your finger. Your finger should be pointing at you, because have you been to Hope Village to visit a loved one? Have you had to sit in there and wait for your loved one to come? Do you have a loved one came to your home with a monitoring device on their leg, having to sit by the phone and wait so you know, so it's many of these people who are making these so-called arguments, they don't even have anything to do with this system.
Let me cut you off right now. We're going to take a break and come right back to Courtney Stewart, then we go to Kevin Petty. This is great. This is Crossroads, coming to you live from the world famous Ben's Chili Bowl on historic Main Street in downtown Washington, D.C. We'll be right back.
Yes.
Hey, Kevin, how do you pronounce that? Phil?
Do you push pause?
Philemon. It's all fancy on me.
Good job.
Philemon House. Boy, you get jazzy.
Roach, short break, stand by.
Stand by, we coming right back. Coming right back. You got it.
In 5.
In 5 seconds. Don't leave, Ron. Welcome back. This is Roach Brown coming to you live from historic Ben's Chili Bowl, downtown Washington, D.C. on U Street. Joining me on our topic on the status of halfway houses in D.C. is my co-host Nikichi Taifa, Mr. Carlisle Holder, President and CEO of CORE, Correctional Management Communications Group, Courtney Stewart, Chairman and CEO of the National Reentry Network for Returning Citizens, and Kevin Petty, Executive Director of the Amazing Gospel Soul. Boy, y'all can scream, can't you, boy? And the Philemon Mission Transistor Service. Where did you get that name, Philemon? What does that mean?
It's all in the Bible.
Well, I don't read the Bible.
It's a one chapter. It's a one chapter letter out of the Bible where Paul wrote to Philemon, asking him, that Onesimus was making parole today, and he's coming back to you, and I need you to treat him like a brother.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I know somebody like you would come up with that. Hey, Kevin, we're talking about the status of halfway houses in Washington, D.C., and I
Yes,
understand that you're involved with halfway houses.
Yes, sir.
And you want to get, Courtney just gave his rundown on what he saw as some of the issues in D.C. What do you see, and what it is that you were doing with the halfway houses in Washington, D.C.?
Well, I think this is a great opportunity. You know, I'm proud to be working with CORE DC right now. I got a chance to go up to New York and witness how they operate up there. And it'll be fascinating how they're doing it in New York. Here's a great opportunity that we got 2,000 DC prisoners that come home in DC every year. Yet we don't have a coherent reentry policy on the ground, and people are dying in the process. here's an opportunity to get it right, starting with the halfway house, transitional houses, and all the rest. This is an opportunity to get it right at this particular stage. And so getting it right means, I mean, we just looked at, within the last year, DC went from 15th to 3rd in the nation in opioid deaths. 90% of those folks were people that were returning citizens, not able to get access to reentry services. So here's our opportunity to get it right, right? And Core DC is offering us that opportunity, right, to define what reentry services look like on the ground in DC. We got a lot of laws, we got a lot of policies, none of them hit the ground. So here's an opportunity for us to get that right and get the policy on the ground so we can start saving some lives. Our folks are coming home whether they like it or not. Okay, they're coming home, and they've been coming home. 2000, DC has been for the past 40 years, had the highest incarceration rate in the world.
Yes, it has.
Okay, we ain't in no position to take that kind of stand about folks coming home. We locking people up faster than Russia. Okay, and so if that's the case, they gotta come back home someplace.
You know, you just hit on something that's very valuable, Kevin. Man, every week, 10,000 prisoners are released from all federal and state prisons. That's 40,000 a month.
Yes.
And we talking about 2,000 in Washington, D.C. yearly. And I spoke to the congressman earlier about us having halfway houses or geriatric homes or making a portion of that for these elderly prisoners. One of the things that we talked about in the kitchen and a couple other folks is a program that we've been working on called OA, Offender Anonymous. When these men and women are being locked up 15, 20, 30 years, they don't have no way to deal with the social, economic, and technological changes that come out. When I came home, I wanted to use the bathroom. And when I got on the bathroom, I got up, it flushed all by itself. It scared me to death. I didn't know what to do. Then I walked over to the face bowl and put my hands over it. I'm still looking at the stall to see if this joker was gonna put his feet down because I couldn't find him. When I put my hands over there, the faucets came on by themselves. I said, oh, this is too much. I stayed in the bathroom a half hour until somebody can come and get me out of there because I didn't know how to get out the bathroom. So you got men and women going through all these technological confrontations and they don't know how to maneuver socially, economically, or politically. So OA, Offender Anonymous, is similar to AA and NA. And for those folk who've been locked up for a long period of time, they need to have that kind of sensitivity
Great
exposure.
idea. Yes, sir.
To make sure they can make their transition. Sure, a house and the bed is fine, but they got some mental, social, and technological issues
Yes.
that need to be addressed. Did y'all see any of that when you went up to New York?
Yeah,
Something like that?
yeah, we saw similar to that. Here, I think we probably have to take what Core DC is doing and take it another step further. Right? DC is a whole lot different than New York in some sense. But Core offers but the way they work with the community, allowing the community organizations to come in and be a part of the process. That's a sea change from what we're getting with.
We didn't have that here.
Right,
We didn't have
right. So that we have an opportunity to reshape, well, that's what I said earlier, we have an opportunity here with CORE to reshape what reentry really looks like in the District of Columbia. And you're absolutely right. I think that when you talk about most of the folks coming home from prison today, most of them have mental problems, right? It's just from the trauma. Have substance use problems, right? And what do those things feed off? It feeds off of anxiety, depression, and things on that level. And so what are the first things a person do when they step out of the prison? I'm anxious about where I'm gonna live, where I'm gonna work. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster. So if we can get 6 months, BOP is willing to give us 6 months through Core DC, and organizations like you just talked about, or programs like you did, another 6 months in a transitional housing center. So that's a whole year that we'll have our people incubated, preparing them for the community. That's public safety at its best.
And let me add this, folks, real quick. We talk about transparency a lot, and so this is what I see with Core DC. They're very transparent. You know, I'm a big critic. Everybody knows I'm hard when it comes to our residents. You know, and when it comes to returning citizens. You know, I see the value. That's what I see. I see the value and I see the potential of the equity that we need to change and have an impact on the things that are really, really impacting our lives, you know, especially coming back to a city that we were born and raised in. So I see that Core DC is willing to learn right along the lines that we are willing to teach them. And this is something that is needed in our community. We need to be working together always, not pointing the finger at all the negative things because that's all we talk about is a bunch of negative stuff. But we don't talk about all the positive things that's going on, all the work that we are doing, you know, and not only that, we are set up for change. Let's get going. Let's get some real stuff done. I mean, we've done all this work. It's time to benefit from it. I've sat down with these people, and I see that they are ready to talk to us and work with us.
Thanks. Now, I'll throw it to my wife, Mertine, who's been doing the pitch for our winter drive here at WPFW. Go ahead.
Okay,
wife.
here's again your opportunity to donate to Crossroads right now. This is our extended pledge drive. The telephone number is 202-588-9739 or 800-222-9739. Or you can go to the website, wpfwfm.org. We're sharing very serious information here. We gotta change lives, languages in prisons unnecessarily. And we gotta do something about it. We got the power as a people. We need to step up, and finances are necessary in this regard. Again, 202-588-9739 or 800-222-9739, or go online to wpfwfm.org. We need your support. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Holden.
Yeah, let me address the issue about the geriatric, because I think that's an issue. As you know, this whole mass incarceration began in the mid-'80s. You know, when I started in the federal prison, there was only 30,000 federal prisoners. You know, and it increased when I retired to 218,000. So I think what we need to do, that's a serious issue you make, and we have to push the lawmakers, you know, for these, you know, for these folks that are coming out, that really they don't need a halfway house. They need to go straight into some kind of, you know, senior citizen type of residence, because they're not gonna work. You know, the whole thing for transitional is for them to come in and work and do these kinds of things. So we have to change the discussion, and we gotta add,
Peer support.
you know, we gotta add that piece you talked about, because right now, we know it's happening. I've seen it. You know, these guys are coming out now. They don't, you know, we sending them to it's good for business, but it doesn't serve the ultimate, the alternate concerns in terms of the older inmates returning. So I would like to see us, you know, engaging the policy makers to make sure that they do something, because we know that's coming. Right about now, most of the folks that, you know, got these long sentences are coming, and they're not going to work. They're going home to, you know, whatever life God keep them on this earth, and we need to do that. But sometime before we finish, because I think it's important, I want to have our VP of Community Relations talk about the programs that we offer. You know, that's not my thing. I'm a leader that stay in my lane, but I like to give him about 30 seconds or so to contrast all the different programs. And, you know, he worked his way in all the different job placement, all those kinds of things. So I want to give him about 30 seconds to come and just talk about core DC programs that we offer. And he's a great brother in Gordon Jackson.
Gordon Jackson, he's your what?
Vice President of Community Relations.
Oh, okay. Good morning, Gordon, and thank you for coming in.
Good morning, Mr. Roach. I want to thank the entire Crossroads family and WPFW FM for making this platform available. One, thank you for the folks here in DC for giving us an opportunity to share what makes our program model different. I've had the pleasure and the honor of working with Core Services Group since I finished graduate school. As
How
a
long has
leadership
that
team, since 1995.
Oh, you're overtime.
Yeah, I'm over time. Yes, I did, you know, we've studied community corrections, we've studied reentry, we've seen the system change in New York in the Eastern District over the last 25 years or so, and we're committed to the work. So some of the things that we think we will bring into the DC community, should this project go through successfully, and we're confident that it will, is our program model focuses on family reintegration, obviously employment. We operate with a model of transparency, so we're looking to partner with faith-based organizations, members of RAND, and any other groups in DC that can help support keeping these men home. So again, thank you to the WPFW family and for viewer listening, supported radio, and we appreciate the support.
Thank you, Gordon.
So, you know, Roach, where else are we gonna get information like this than at WPFW? I mean, we're talking about cutting edge, right on the cusp, you know, information. I don't think I think this might be one of the first. I know you're on Karen Garrison's Mommy Activist blog show yesterday, but where else are we gonna get this information in such a timely, I mean, we have some time constraints going on here. So Mr. Petty and Mr. Stewart, you tell are there any community engagement efforts or activities happening within the next couple of weeks that will bring this really to the attention of the DC community at large, you know, pumping up what folk are hearing here on WPFW? I know you're gonna be at the Justice Roundtable, you know, tomorrow, but are there any community stuff going on?
Yeah, we're in the process of doing a couple of Raleigh and community events in Ward 5. I think one of them's gonna be at the Ivy City Smokehouse.
There's one going on right over in Anacostia.
Yeah, one in Anacostia. We're trying to put one over at Israel Baptist Church, right? And get some of the clothes. Some of my church over at Ward 7, Hughes Memorial United Methodist Church. Thursday, we have a huge meeting with a lot of pastors and clergy on that level.
And it's a community events where the community can come in and ask questions.
Come in and be part of the process, you know, all the way across the board. And then we're gonna fan out an army across the city to try to make sure the record is true. I think everybody was offended by the material that was put out.
Fear mongering.
Yeah, you know, what else? It offended, you know, us to the core. You know, so I think our public need to be educated completely.
You know, Courtney said something that struck a nerve. We always can talk bad or negative about something. You know what I mean? And there's a need for change. And we're talking about lives, men and women's lives are coming out of the institution. So we have to take a fresh, new, innovative approach. And you can talk bad about Jesus Christ if you want to. You know, if you come from a negative persuasion, that's what you can find. So we have to come together because we're talking about lives, families, kids, people's futures and their hopes. And if anybody can have a project or program that will feed into that, we have to support it to give them a chance to make it or break it. You know what I mean? And this is one of the things, because like I said, I remember when Half Hour started in 1964. And I was one of the, I think, this 10th or 11th guy got an halfway house from the Department of Corrections. And brother, it was like being in the penitentiary, because it was the first halfway house in Washington, D.C. And there's a group in Washington that just went out of business a few years ago called Wpfww. And they've been in business for 32 years. And they was the first and only halfway house operation ran, operated, owned, and managed and staffed by people with criminal records. And they just went out of business a few years ago. So they ran for 32 years successfully. Wpfww. Question, do y'all have any returning citizens on staff working within core civic with the halfway houses or your community corrections programs?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that we saw was critical for our program model. Core New York currently hires about 900 folks. We have 2 subsidiary contracts, both in maintenance as well as food service for our companies. And that's a very important piece of our program model. We don't believe successfully you can benefit financially off of bringing men and women home and not hire folks who have a past history. So no, that's something we're adamant about. We advocate on behalf of returning citizens, and we hire directly within the core model where contractually appropriate, where we can do it, we hire folks.
Yeah, and I think, you know, just we're gonna bring about 80 positions to this new venture, and we plan to hire, I would say, 78 of them from the district. So we're gonna work with those people that's been supporting us, right? You know, the Courtneys, the Kevins, the Tyrones, yourself, Sister Nkechi, all the folks that we're gonna come to y'all, because we're gonna bring quality people with a compassion for the work. We're not just gonna bring a body. You know, we're gonna bring people that understand they treat these men with dignity and respect, right? And give them every opportunity. So we're gonna work with the community to make sure that we get the best people. And if they don't cut it, they're not gonna stay. We're gonna train them, we're gonna tell them what the expectations are, and if they don't cut it, they're not gonna stay. They're not gonna make life difficult for these guys when they come home.
You know, when I ran into Mr. Holder yesterday at Walter Ridley's funeral, he used to be the director of the Department of Corrections and the chairman of DC Board of Parole. He was a warden down in Lawton, and he took a position to stop asking the community to hire people being released from prison. We got to start first. And he had started hiring people within the Department of Corrections as returning citizens. And he hired them all across within the department. So we ask people to take us or receive us, but for those folks who provide the programs, have to make the first step. Then make sure we include their men and women within that agency and organization. So, because these are the folks with the sensitivity and the experience to know exactly how to deal or how to relate to them folks. And I noticed, sir, that you got an accent. And I had to deal with that.
Well, briefly, I'm originally from Trinidad. I came here at the tender age of 17, did 4 years in the Marines, and then 27 and a half years with the Bureau of Prisons. 12 of those years as a warden. I was the youngest warden in the Bureau at the time. I was 38. And retired at my first eligibility. I've been doing community work for the last 7 years. I've been working with Sister Nkechi on a variety of community stuff. So I'm not just got into this work because it's not about money for me, right? It's about social impact.
Right, because you know, I know we have been on, you don't even know, panels before, way back in the day, but various social justice organizations. So when I heard that this contract was going to be awarded in DC, I just got kind of, I didn't understand the name courts, and then you straightened that up. But I saw the name Carlisle Holden, and I said, oh my God, you know, that's that brother, you know, he's good, he's progressive. And I'm holding up your book, Can Anything Good Come Out of Prison? And like I said, there are testimonial after testimonial in this book from people who were under your care, under the Department of Corrections. I mean, it's just absolutely phenomenal. And I think we have...
Another one right here.
Oh my God, well come on and give a testimonial. What's your name, brother? I love being Shirley Bogan. Folk can just come right on here.
Good afternoon.
What's your status here with Mr. Holder?
My name is Dana Tennant. Let me start with Mr. Holder. I was once incarcerated at Coleman Penitentiary down in Florida. I came home and I ran into a good group of guys, namely one Mr. Al Malik Farrakhan, who took me under his wing. Mr. Malik Farrakhan took me under his wing. I walked a straight path, and I was introduced to Marion Barry, the late mayor of Washington, D.C., who took my resume. And then I got a call within 2 days from that program that Mr. Roach Brown was talking about, African ex-convicts. And Mr. Roach, we're still moving. We're still moving forward. The halfway house has been closed since 2014. However, I'm still in the office, and we still provide services to returning citizens.
Beautiful.
And what's your name again?
Dana Tennant.
Okay.
And let me not forget to mention Mr. Kevin Petty, who mentored me while I was at Coleman and kept me on a straight path. And I rose in the NAACP. We were the first federal prison to have the NAACP reintegrated back into the prison system. And I rose from just a regular member to treasurer, then to second vice president on my way home, and was allowed to, by Mr. Petty and the executive board, to oversee or to be a part of the Black Caucus. We had an initiative in the Black Caucus the month I came home.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yes.
We need
Yes.
another 2 hours.
Yes.
We got 3 minutes to go before we end the show. We'd like to close with, we got 3 minutes. Give you a minute apiece to Courtney and Kevin, and we close with Mr. Holden. Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you both for having me. This is a serious issue. These are our family members, and you know we need to welcome them back to the city.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, Kevin Petty.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I want to thank Crossroads, and thank Roach is one of my mentors also. But I want
You
I
paid
want
me to do that.
Yes, sir. I want to take this time to ask for all your prayers for another one of our fallen soldiers, Arthur Rico Rush. You know, he had a stroke recently, and he's really, really struggling.
Yeah.
And so he needs all of our prayers. at this
Hang
time.
in there, Rico, we're praying for you, man.
Hey, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. We're willing to do the work. We're willing to partner with people who care about the returning citizens. And if that's on the agenda, we're open to have discussions.
I'm just looking forward to a new day in DC, and, you know, with all that CORE is gonna bring here, I'm ready
All
for
right
it.
now. Yes.
Oh, wait a minute, I just got lost. I told you I had trouble with that Ginkgo biloba. I can't remember nothing. I want to thank Courtney, I want to thank everybody else. I want to say that we'll keep Core Civic on the table and in front of us, and we like to stay involved and invite you back so we can make sure we stay on top of this new concept of how you operate in the halfway houses, how our men and women are being treated that come back. You have an invitation to come back to Crossroads. And for our listeners around the world who's listening to the show, we want to let them know that we'll keep you apprised of what's going on with Core Civic. I want to say
Go DC.
Core DC. I want to say in closing, I want to say thanks to my co-hosts, to our guest Kevin Petty, to Carlisle Holder and Courtney Stewart, to my beautiful wife Mertine Moore Brown, to Jerry Parrish, and to Mike Masella and Shahid in the community TV. Until next time, remember, your inner voice is never wrong. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Well, we did a little bit. We got it.
Well, 9:30.
Got it.
Thank you, man.
We'll do a quick picture, please.
If you could, 9:30, 9:45.
Could anybody get behind the sign, please? We'll do a quick picture.
And, we have a set program after.
Behind it, in front of it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Front of it. Behind it.
Hey, Gordon, come on. Gordon,
This is a mug shot.
Gordon.
We're taking a mug shot.
Can I do what? I'm recording.
You good, everybody?
It's okay.
Take this New York accent. This is called the new mug shot.
One more here, please. This way?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hey, give one me and Mert. Mert, come here real quick. We're right with the background.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, you were here when I was, I think I saw you when you came in.
It was a headshot.
Well, where do you want me?
All right, that's In the Community TV, and this is No No Nonsense. Thank you guys for tuning in. Peace out.
I was supposed to be at a training.
Yay. Yay.
I've never been here.
I've never been to beach.
I've been here for a hot dog.
For a hot dog.
I mean, when I heard that, it was the first place that Barack Obama came out. I think maybe I've been before. I mean,
Yeah, see what was the fuss about? You're not originally from Maryland, Washington, D.C. You are? I'm so glad I'm not. Yeah, you're not. Yeah. That's eye-opening, mind-blowing. French, I'm very well read, I know very little
and they teach you, and they're very diplomatic, and they're very well dressed, and they eat so well. And so, and they know everything about the United States, and we know nothing about them. And so they are constantly judging,